Have you ever looked at a group chat or a Facebook thread and just felt tired? Not physically tired, but socially exhausted? You have this thought, this real honest opinion, and you start typing it out. You're halfway through the second sentence, and then you stop. You look at the words. You imagine the huge transcript of your life being read back to you by a stranger who wants to hate on you, and you just delete it. You back out. You post a like on someone else's safe post, and you move on, feeling a little bit less like yourself than you did 5 minutes ago. Today, we're digging into that silence. We're talking about the reluctance to share real opinions online. It's a mouthful of a title, but it's the reality of the digital age. We have more megaphones than ever before, but we've never been quieter. So think about the irony for a second. The internet was supposed to be this great equalizer. It was supposed to be the place where we have all shared our true selves. But something shifted. It's become easier to speak, yet infinitely more complicated to be heard. We're hesitating, we're filtering, we're curating, we're getting distracted from other things. And we're doing it because the stakes have changed. So we're pretty much talking to what big web of people around the internet, like a searchable database that never forgets and rarely forgives. And it's like, wow, it's easy to thinking about like hate than love in some ways, especially if it's someone you disagree with and you don't know. And it's easy to kind of rant on social media or trolling, which we all know about. So let's get into the heavy stuff first. So, first is really cancel culture. Now, regardless of where you stand, we have to talk about the psychology of it. And it has become the single biggest issue in the history of communication. So, like, especially towards honesty. So, we used to have the room to fail if you said something clumsy at a dinner party. The people who you know would catch the context. They'd see your face. They know you aren't a monster. But online, context is the first thing to die. And we're living in a world of public backlash, completely on steroids. The fear of being canceled is just really about social ostracism. And it's the fear that if you diverge from the mainstream for a second, the mob will turn. So what do? We create a chilling effect, which we only share what is safe. So basically, it's more out of comfort because we fear about being judged, where it's like we're always self-conscious about many things that we deal with. So we pretty much are sharing about what we believe will make us feel more comfortable and not frustrated. So it's pretty much the amplification of mistakes that really gets me. In the digital age, a single misstep, a joke that landed wrong, a thought from 10 years ago, or a misunderstood tweet that gets amplified. Of course, it's going to gain attention, and it becomes a permanent part of that huge transcript that fear makes. And this fear makes us opt for silence because silence can't be screenshotted and silence can't be used against you in 5 years. But we're choosing to be ghosts because we're afraid of being targets. That's why we just sometimes may ignore. We may feel frustrated even though we look at the comments, even though we have never replied to them. So that's the polarization to the mix. So it feels like you have to pick a side, whether it's team A, team B. And if you have a nuanced opinion, if you agree with 60% of one side or 40% the other, it's like you're a traitor. They might see you as a traitor. So instead, you stay quiet and you don't want to get hit by the friendly fire in a social media sense. But being the target of the other side is tough. And the middle ground is becoming a ghost town. It's like a neutral It's almost like people want you to pick a side in a way, but you have to choose. So then there's the two versions of one. So this leads to a really weird, painful split in the human soul, which is private versus public beliefs. If so, we're all living double lives now. So you have your public persona, the one that's polished, sanitized, and HR approved, and you have the real you. The discrepancy between these two is where the cognitive dissonance lives. It's that internal conflict. You're nodding along to the public opinion that you privately think is nonsense just because you want external validation. You want to be accepted and you want to belong. So humans are social animals and we need to belong. And in the digital realm, belonging is measured in likes and shares. And if your real opinion won't get liked, you bury it. You confirm. You trade your authenticity for a sense of safety. But here's the problem. When you reconcile your private thoughts with the public lie, you start to lose yourself. You start to wonder if anyone actually knows who you are, or if they just like the version of you that follows the rules, is more disciplined. So we used to have these safe spaces where we can feel comfortable to who to talk to, especially when we were younger. You have your living room or your car or a walk with a friend or spending time with friends. I mean, these were places where you could just do whatever and experiment. And you could say to yourself, I may be struggling with this, or I think this is a popular thing, but I know it's bad for me. But even those spaces kind of feel smaller now. And the anonymity of the internet used to feel safe, but now it feels like a trap. We've seen enough leaked DMs to know nothing is truly private. So the self-censorship moves from the public square into our private lives. We're guarding our tongues even when we're the people who love us. So where does this leave us? The reluctance to share real opinions online is really more about a human problem rather than just social media itself. And the multifaceted issue influenced by the fear of backlash and the desire of sex acceptance and the weight of that huge transcript. So we are navigating a digital world that demands perfection, but we are inherently imperfect creatures. If you want to foster a more honest discourse, we have to start by lowering the temperature. We have to create environments where diverse opinions can coexist without the threat of professional or social execution. We need to encourage respectful dialogue again, but we also need to remember that someone can disagree with us without being the enemy. Because if we keep staying silent, the only voices left will be the ones who don't care about the truth, only the volume. My challenge to you today is simple. Find a place where you don't have to be curated and find the person you can be unpolished with. Let's try to bring the human back into the conversation. One, honest, and it can be messy. Unscreenshot an opinion at a time. So I'm your host, Connor, at Vote and Voice, and this is the reluctance to share real opinions online. Thanks for watching. Stay real out there.